everybody out there in podcast land. I'm Suzanne, and this is episode number 209 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is March 19th, 2025, and my guest is Laurie in North Carolina. Okay, announcements. You might remember a couple of weeks ago that Monica was talking about her experience selling a cowboy hat, and it went to Finland. Well, we were both kind of puzzled by that, and one of my smart listeners sent me an email explaining what that might be about. So this is from Meg. She said, "Hey Suzanne, I really enjoy your podcast, but I wanted to tell you what I knew about Finnish cowboys. We went to Finland last winter, and they have indigenous people called the Sami, and they raise reindeer. In the summer, the reindeer run wild, and the farmers and cowboys follow the reindeer as they roam. Reindeer are very valuable in Finland, and asking how many reindeer they own is like asking here what your salary is. I learned most of this information when I was on a reindeer ride with our Sami guide. In Finland, they have reindeer racing and reindeer work often in the winter. Reindeer are very sensitive to touch, and their hair is what keeps them warm. But if someone touches them, it breaks that barrier that keeps them warm. So they very rarely allow humans to touch them. We laughed, though, during our reindeer ride. The reindeer behind us kept putting his face next to mine and my daughter's on either side, but we never touched them. We were in Lapland, and it was gorgeous. And Meg did send me some photos of their trip, and it was just, I wish you could see these photos. It's just a winter wonderland, so beautiful and pristine. Okay, she goes on to say the Sami guide was so friendly and kind. They also drink warm blueberry juice in the winter. We stayed in an insulated glass igloo. Way more information than you probably wanted, but thought it would answer the question and be interesting. Thank you for brightening my day with your podcast, and I am so thankful for you. Sincerely, Meg." Well, isn't that interesting? I love getting feedback like this from my listeners, so don't ever hesitate to contact me if you have an update or more information about something that was discussed. You don't have to be on the podcast if you don't want to, but I do enjoy receiving feedback like this. So thanks so much, Meg, for sharing that information. We appreciate you. Okay, now on to the chat with Laurie.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back. I have Laurie with us today, and we had a few speed bumps in connecting on this podcast, but we finally made it, and we're here. And how are you doing this morning?
Doing great. It's a beautiful day in Western North Carolina.
Yes,
sunshine and a little bit of wind.
Yeah, we have a nice day here in South Carolina, so I'm ready for it to warm up and for the pool to open.
There you go.
So you are in the area that received a lot of destruction from Helene, and that was one of the reasons we postponed this. So
Correct.
Talk about that a little bit, where you are and what happened to you.
Yeah, so Morganton is about an hour northwest of Charlotte and an hour east of Asheville. We're on I-40. Morganton itself, we have the Catawba River that runs kind of through part of the town, and it flooded like it hasn't flooded in over 100 years. Places that had never flooded. Roads were closed, and then the wind was just destroyed houses. There's still, within walking distance of me, probably a dozen homes that are uninhabitable because trees came down, just can't get fixed. So we're still in recovery mode, but certainly not devastated like Asheville and points to the west. I have friends up there who were out of power and water for months. So
Yeah, it was
We're making
just
a comeback.
horrible. And I don't know if you are on Facebook much, but all these reels came up about the destruction and the water and the damage and the trees and the roads they just collapsed. They're
It
just
just was
nothing.
terrible.
And I hate to say this, but I had to stop watching them because I feel so bad for the people that live there, but you feel so helpless because there's nothing you can do.
Nothing.
Donate money, donate goods and water and all of that. But it was just so massive that I can imagine living in the middle of that and how helpless you must feel.
It was unfathomable. It really was. It was just every time you turn around, there was something more, and it was worse. So there's one place I'm jumping right into an estate sale, but I went about a week before. My boyfriend and I went up into Newland, North Carolina, which is one of the towns that was just destroyed. It's not really a town anymore. And we took some back roads that ran right along a creek and got up to the top of the hill to this woman who was selling a bunch of things from her mother's trailer. It was beautiful, got a lot of great stuff. But I know the whole road to that trailer is wiped out because it was right along the river or the little creeks. It was so pretty. It had sunflowers and all this beautiful greenery and cows in the pasture, and gone.
Yeah. And I took a trip up there in January of 24. And it was just beautiful. Even in the dead of winter, it's beautiful.
It's so pretty where we are.
Rivers and the streams and just the nature and the fun town of Asheville.
Yeah.
And it was just heartbreaking because it's only like an hour and a half from us here in Greenville. And it's
right.
People go up there for dinner.
Sure.
Go up to the Biltmore and for the day and come back. So, anyway, my heart still goes out to those people because it is going to be a long process.
It will indeed.
Yeah. So you were in the middle of that, and then you moved across town.
Right. Because I think it's good to keep things really jumbled and chaotic. And I live that. I lived that life
testing your soul. Like, how much more can I take?
Well, and then in the middle of moving across town, I moved my parents from their home into assisted living. So just keep juggling the parts and hope you don't drop any balls.
Now, you have like a regular job outside of eBay, don't you?
I do. I work in an emergency room. I'm a nurse practitioner. So I work 12-hour shifts there. Again, I thrive on chaos.
I was going to say, you must be just wired for complicated situations because the ER is not a calm place.
It is not for the faint of heart. You are correct. Yes.
But we need people like you who thrive on that and just can jump in a crisis and make decisions. And not everybody's wired that way.
No, and thank goodness we all aren't. Thank goodness there are people who don't want to do that kind of thing. I'm thankful for all the people who love the little old folks in the nursing homes. I couldn't do that if my life depended on it. So thank you to those who do.
I have a friend, Catherine. She's in the Facebook group, and we met when I lived in Georgia. She had a boutique in her basement and then decided she didn't want to do that anymore. And I bought some inventory from her, but that's what she does, is she helps in assisted living, and she's not like an employee. She's kind of like comes in during the day and just sits with them and helps
right
them and stuff like that. And just the patience of Job, I couldn't do
absolutely.
it. I couldn't do it. And so bless her. And she just loves it. She takes them little gifts and writes them notes and figures out what their favorite things are and, plays their favorite music or whatever it is to really nurture them in their final hours in days. And a lot of family just won't go because they just can't handle it.
Right. Yeah. I look at it when I go visit my parents. It's a privilege to spend time with them because it won't last forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if I have to say the same thing 3 or 4 times, so be it. And then I remind my daughter who lives here in town, hey, Rebecca, this is going to be you in about 30 years. Good luck.
Well, my daughter, who's 31, she tells me, Mom, you already told me that. And I'm like, I don't remember telling you that. She's like, yeah, you were standing over there doing such and such, and you already told me that. And I'm thinking, Oh gosh, was this a senior moment? Because I feel like I have a pretty good memory. I have a pretty good grasp of things. Don't you think that? Just could you just act like you hadn't heard it before?
Just pretend. Just pretend.
Yeah,
Please.
just act like it's news to you, and we'll all be happy.
Exactly.
Well, I say you know, like you'll tell one person something, and then you'll tell a different person, and you don't remember who you told what to.
Right. When you
So
talk to a lot of people, it's that way. Or you're
right.
getting ready to tell them something, you get interrupted, and then it's like, did I already say that?
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I don't remember who I told what to. So sorry if I'm repeating this, but well, let's talk about what brought you to eBay and when that happened.
Well, I started eBay in 2021. Started with another daughter, my daughter Rachel, who lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and she was talking about Marketplace. She says, Mom, I've sold some stuff in Marketplace, and she got a lot of things from free groups there. She said, you love antiques, you've always loved them. You ought to look into eBay. And I bought a few things in the past, but I was like, what do you mean buy things, sell things? What are you talking about? So she encouraged me to do it. And I started out selling on Marketplace and most sold a lot of stuff locally. And then I got a good lot of things, which may be for a later story. And I said, all right, I'll try it. I'll put it on eBay. And I probably took an hour to even write up what I was going to do, and probably another 2 hours to take the pictures. It was a glass insulator, purple.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I sold it maybe in about 3 weeks' time to somebody in the Midwest who wanted it for his wife for Christmas. And I was so excited. I wrapped it. And I think I probably spent $10 extra on wrapping. I didn't understand. But anyway, he wrote back. He was thrilled. It was a wonderful review, and I was hooked.
And so how much did you sell it for?
$60.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was pleased. It didn't cost me anything. Yeah. But
Well, I learned about those in the Midwest when I was there.
Yes.
People kept bringing things like, oh, I heard you sell on eBay. You can have this and you can have this. And I was like, okay, I knew what those were, but I did not realize the number of collectors.
Oh yeah, it's a huge following.
And they're easy to ship. You know, you wrap them in BOLO wrap and just stick them in a cube box.
Right.
But I learned a lot about what's rare, and the purple ones are rare.
Yes. Yeah.
And what people do with them. They make these beautiful chandeliers or little candle holders, like you hanging in the garden, and you just put a candle in there. Just all the beautiful things that people make with them. It became like, well, this is a raw material for these people who need them, and they may need one that matches something they're working on, like, oh, I need 2 more just like this, you know, with the Cinderella skirt, or maybe a color, it's green or blue or whatever. And yeah, there's all these collecting groups, and there's conventions, and so yeah, those glass insulators, I learned a lot about those, and they're profitable. I was selling, most of them were average. You know, they weren't rare or anything, and around $20 consistently.
That's not bad. Consistent sales. Yes.
Yeah. And they were free. So why not?
Why not indeed?
And I just put them in the dishwasher, you know, because they get dirt up in the groove.
Right. Right.
I was like, how can I clean these? So you know, rinse off the chunks of dirt, and I just ran them through the dishwasher, and you know, they were made to be outside.
Right. So what's the dishwasher going to do?
Yeah.
Huh.
Good.
I'll keep that in mind. Should I find any more? That was a one-off. I mean, I'll see the clear ones and the pale green ones, but usually when I see them, they want to sell them for $10, and I know I'm not going to make, so I pass.
Yeah, and some of them actually have the year on them. So go into Google Images and try to find the exact one. That's, you know, the research can slow you down because there's so many different ones.
Right.
That's what that was kind of how glass was recycled back in the day. They would make them out of, you know, old bottles or whatever they could find, and that's why they're different colors.
I didn't know that. Huh.
How about that? I didn't mean to turn this into a lesson or anything, but I was like, wait, that's what that is. For some of those.
See, who knew? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But that was my first sale. But I grew up with an antiquing mother and dad. So as long as I can remember, we'd go off to estate sales and auctions. I grew up in central Pennsylvania, so they were everywhere. The best ones were the Amish ones, but they had very practical things, but just to sit there and enjoy the day and see what would sell. So I just grew up with it. I tried to say, no, I don't like this stuff. I don't like this stuff, but yet I do. So I collect it and I sell it.
Hey, it's what you like. We've all tried things, and I'll be looking for online auctions for things to buy, and it's like, I just don't think I could get into that. I would not enjoy that. Like, I don't like trains. I don't like hardware. I gotta love it and enjoy working on it. And when the time passes and you don't realize how much time has passed, that's when you're doing the right thing.
You're exactly
into it. You're in the flow. Yeah.
There have been things I bought, I'll buy it really cheap. I'll say, oh, this is great. And then it just sits to the side and sits and sits. And after a couple months, I'm like, I shouldn't have bought that. I don't look forward to listing it. So then depending on what I paid for it, I'll either buckle down and list it or just put it back and redonate it.
Right.
It's not worth fussing about.
Yeah, I see a lot of like old toys and trains and stuff on these online auctions. Like, this guy was into trains, and he's got all the little miniature, trees and buildings and all that stuff. And some people just love it. I just can't get excited about it.
No, trains are not my deal, though. I did buy, it's funny you should say that. I bought a little box lot of trains just a few days ago. One of my favorite little places is a place it's a Flea thrift shop for people who are recovering addicts of some sort, and people donate everything under the sun. And there's a little box of some train tracks and train pieces. It was $2. I was like, all right, Laurie, take it home, see what you get. For $2, you can't lose. So I took it home, got them out. They were clean. And then I started looking at comps. They're worth like $5 a piece. So maybe I'll list them, maybe I'll save them. Who knows what I'll do, but they're not a top priority.
Well, I guess you can just put them all together and put them on auction for what you paid and see what you get.
A $2 auction.
I don't know. That's what I end up doing with stuff
that's a good idea.
Keeps getting pushed to the side. I'm like, I'm never going to list this. I'm just going to put it in the lot with other things. Who was it? Bill Hunt that did a junk drawer lot. I don't know if you saw that. It was on my business page.
No.
It's just all this random stuff, key rings of jewelry, just knickknack stuff. And I forget what he sold it for, but I'm remembering it because it was on my business page for 2 or 3 weeks, and it got 50,000 views.
And did he auction it or just listed it?
Well, this was on my business page, like other visitors looking at it.
Oh, okay.
So it told me like people are interested in this.
Oh, gotcha.
I look at the analytics on my business page, like what do people look at? What do they respond to? What do they like? What do they comment on? And then I try to more of that because I want to give them what they like.
Right.
So I'm always looking at the analytics, but I was like, wow. And Bill, if you're listening, yeah, that was like the highest viewed thing in the history of my page was this picture of this junk drawer lot. And because everybody has junk drawers, like more than one.
I think I'm going to take Bill's idea.
Yeah, I'll put that in at the end, how much that sold for. But
yes,
it wasn't about the selling price. It was just about this is something people looked at. Because,
right.
Everybody's got that.
Right. That's funny.
You can sell your junk.
And people buy junk.
I know. And I've heard people that buy those lots, they just do it because it's interesting. They like going through all the little stuff in there. It could be Barbie shoes. It could be a dog collar. It could be spoons. It's just whatever.
You don't know.
And, they might find one treasure in there. Like I found that 2-headed troll that sold for $125.
In a junk lot?
Well, it was a lot of trolls, and
Oh,
the
okay.
pictures were terrible, and I just kind of I bid on it just as like I want to learn about these. I keep seeing people selling them. And so I looked up each one. There was about 20 of them in there, and they were old and like the hair was disintegrating. And I was like, this is kind of yucky. I don't know if I want to do these again.
Ooh.
And then I looked up this two-headed one, and I priced it at 125, and it sold for full price in about a week. And
Wow.
then I was like, well, you know what? I think I like trolls now.
Dirty and disintegrating or not?
Yeah, that's just a great way to learn on stuff, is buy it cheap and learn on it. Anyway, so back to your story, talking about trains.
Trains, we went to
Okay.
trains and the
Other things you bought that are of interest?
So I found a real honey hole about a year ago this time. There's a flea market here in Morganton that used to be a really great flea market. And I hadn't been in years, and I didn't know if they sold any vintage stuff anymore. So roundabout way, I got in touch with the lady who manages it and said, do you still sell vintage things anymore? She says, no. And I said, well, I'm selling on eBay. Kind of gave her the story. She said, honey, she said, I have a whole shed full of things that you can have if you'll clean out the shed. So there's new owners to this flea market now. And when the vendors couldn't pay their rent, the new owners would just take all their inventory. So my boyfriend and his son and I went over to this shed that was on the flea market grounds with a trailer. The shed was probably 16 by 20. You couldn't step with it a foot inside the door for all the boxes and junk that were stacked to the ceiling. I was never so excited in my life for eBay stuff.
I know. People who don't do this business, they don't get it. Like, oh my gosh, it's like the lady on the IKEA commercial. Start the car, start the car.
I was so excited. I wore boots, like not high boots, but this was a place that was open. I didn't know what I was going to get into. It was winter, so I knew there wouldn't be any snakes, but mice and other little critters. And I was wearing just gloves. It was not heated. So I found the first things that were inside were these big trash bags. And I'd take them out and I'd shake them out. And most of them were clothing that had kind of disintegrated, full of mouse droppings. So those just went straight into the trash trailer.
Yeah.
But boxes upon boxes of tins, of china, of depression glass, of metal stuff that I didn't even know what it was. So we made piles there and got rid of it there. I bet there were 30 or 40 lamps, like table lamps and floor lamps, that I wasn't interested in, didn't want to bother with. They went straight to our Habitat store. But again, all these boxes, crates. Took those back to his house and started to sort them. The dishes, the glassware was so dirty that they needed to be washed 2 and 3 times. Some of it I put in the dishwasher. Some of it I washed by hand. I'm still sorting through that. Most of it is well, I shouldn't say, I'm not still sorting through it. I still have some pieces left. But I've gotten a lot of great sales out of that. Learned a lot about depression glass. Got some books from the library. Learned that. But probably my biggest sale there's a lot of jewelry in those round metal tins that cookies used to come in.
Right.
Way back, they filled with a lot of junky costume jewelry. But I found an Escada pin. Red enamel, was poppies, and I started looking at comps for that, and if I had the earrings, but I didn't. Anyway, I sold it to somebody in France for $125.
Very nice.
That was fun. And then along with that, there were a lot of Weiss pieces. Is it Napier? Napier. That's it. Napier.
I guess if you're from the South, it's Napier.
A lot of pieces. I think that's the only piece I sold, but I got a lot of help from the Texas jewelry gals.
Yes, she's very good.
Yes, they were so
Margaret,
helpful.
Texas Gal
Yes,
Treasures. Yeah, she's
yes,
very
they
good.
they were very helpful. Highly recommend. A lot of the pieces I sold as just junk lots. And then I kept several pieces for myself. So that was fun.
So back to the costume jewelry. Did
Yes.
you like lot that up and sell it in lots, or?
Some of it I sold. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Didn't sell much of it in lots. I've tried. Some of it is not selling. A lot of it I just donated.
Mhm.
And I still have one big tin that I need to go through. And it's in my storage area labeled jewelry to be sold.
Well,
So,
I know crafters like the junk jewelry for different things. So
yes, yeah,
it may not be valuable on its own, but again, as a raw material for craft people.
right, right.
But
I did sell one, I think it was a Chico's necklace to somebody in Canada for maybe $25. But that was the only other piece I think is sold. I have a looker right now. I saw this morning on some West Germany feathery earrings. They're white, clip-on, really cute. I wore a pair of them last Easter. But they're the ones I like. I keep in my jewelry box and wear when the time's right.
yeah, absolutely. Keep some for yourself.
Exactly, exactly. One of the other things I found there, and I sold a lot of low price stuff, $20, $25. A lot of depression glass,
Mm-hmm.
just odds and ends. But one of the big sales, and I saw somebody else, I think it was your money, maybe it was the March or February $100 sales. But anyway, what I sold were these mid-century modern cats. They're three different sizes. They hang on the wall.
Yes, yes.
Metal. I sold some of those. Well, a pack of those were in the lot, and I sold them for $325.
So they're really skinny cats.
Really skinny, yes,
Yes.
yes. So I was tickled when I saw somebody else had sold those.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the girl who wanted them was so excited, and when she asked, and I'm trying to remember correctly, she asked if I could do any better on them. And the time I said, no, I've just listed these, so I don't think so. And then she came back later, probably 2 or 3 weeks later, and paid full price. So I think they went to Philadelphia or New York. I'm not sure where, somewhere in the mid-Atlantic states.
Well, you can't blame them for trying to get it at a lower price,
No,
because that's what we do.
Of course we do. Of
So,
course.
you just hold out till you get what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I've
They're
done
not
that.
making those anymore, so the older they get, the more valuable they're going to be. So
Exactly. So I was happy about that sale, but that was fun. Other things I've gotten. I had a family member, distant related through marriage, one of those, who died a few years ago, and his daughter was his executrix, and she had to go to Charlotte and empty out his whole household. Well, he was a bit of a hoarder, and he hoarded things. I don't know if I can't remember. Have you lived in Charlotte before, or you just know?
yes, I lived in Charlotte from 88 to 94.
Well, then you remember probably fairly well the Charlotte flea market.
Back then I wasn't a reseller, so I
Okay.
don't know. I worked for Wachovia Bank, which is now Wells Fargo.
Right.
I learned all the different areas of North Carolina, like Morganton. Yeah. Talk to somebody on the phone from Morganton,
Yeah, I know the bank. I bank with Wells
yeah, I
Fargo.
was like, I remember hearing about that town when I worked at the bank, but I don't even know where it is. But
here it is.
yeah, I wasn't a reseller. I was a young married. I was into crafts.
Okay.
Making the sweatshirts with the glitter paint.
Oh yes, yeah.
The eucalyptus wreaths, and yeah.
You were just
Saturday
you were all that.
Was go to Michael's craft store and buy a whole bunch of stuff that I will never get to. I was into cross stitch and making all that stuff, and yeah, then then kids came along and no more time for crafts.
There you go there.
No, I probably heard of it, but I never went to it.
Well, it was a big flea market, and I think it's long since defunct, but it was somewhere off 85, and they had it every weekend, but every so often they would have a big vintage market. Anyway, back to the deceased family member. He would go on the last day of the weekend and just buy up stock from everybody. So now here's his daughter stuck with everything. But she would sell me boxes of stuff, just huge big boxes, enough to fill the back of my Jeep Cherokee, and maybe for $100. I have sold so much stuff from those. Just I'm trying to think of some of the best stuff I've sold.
But what a great way to have inventory coming to you.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I remember selling an unopened box of some sort of monster trading cards. I put it was when I was brand new starting, and I didn't really understand auction versus buy it now. But I put it on auction. I think I started $125 and sold it for $150. I was tickled.
I guess so.
Yeah, I was just delighted. I sold a lot of stuff privately in that as well. There were a lot of NASCAR things.
Yeah, a lot of that up there, right?
Yeah, so a lot of that privately. This fella that passed, he was a photographer, had originally been a photographer for the Charlotte Observer, and then started just shooting specifically for NASCAR. So like I said, much NASCAR stuff. One of the things he had, again, where he got it, I don't know. It was a promo pack for Evel Knievel's last jump or only jump, whatever, over maybe the Snake River Canyon.
Right. Yes.
So it was like this promo pack that went to all the cities he was going to be in. And it was just nothing but mimeographed paper back when they mimeographed with the purple writing.
Oh, yeah. We called them dittos.
Dittos, yes.
And you loved to smell them when they came right off the machine.
Oh, that chemical smell.
Yeah. It's still wet and everybody's getting high, sniffing the dittos.
High in school, right? Anyway, I had this folder of his stuff, and it was all Evel Knievel, and it was on that pile of, I should just put this in the recycle bin, just be done with. And I said, nope. It was about a month before I moved. I said, go ahead, Laurie, just put it up there. I listed it, sold it for $25 in a week. A bunch of paper.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. I'm still selling lots of little things of his, a lot of little boxes. He was because he was a photographer, he had a lot of press passes for things.
Oh, right.
And I sold one just recently. I have it written down. I don't know. It was from a little racetrack, maybe Hallandale, something down in Florida. Racetrack press pass, little enamel pin, $25, and it went back to Florida.
Yeah, all that memorabilia. I mean, you never know. Oh, I went to this race with my dad, and it was a great day, and they want some kind of trinket to
remember the day,
the nostalgia. Yeah. And now back to NASCAR.
Yes.
So my sister lives in Harrisburg, which is near Concord. She's like 2 miles from the Lowe's Motor Speedway. You can hear it from her house.
Oh boy.
But the first thing I ever sold on eBay was my son's Dale Earnhardt car seat. It was like a toddler car seat.
Wow.
I was going to put it in a garage sale, and my neighbor clued me in on like, no, you need to sell that on eBay. And I'm like, I didn't know what it was. So I figured all that out. And Dale Earnhardt Sr., I guess it was, had recently died.
Oh, so
this was quite collectible. And so, I took the thing apart and cleaned it real well. And it sold for $80.
Wow.
This car seat that, my kid probably puked on and whatever.
All the things.
But, I cleaned it up. Every car seat's like that, oh, here's some goldfish, here's a French fry, whatever.
They live forever.
And then I, I had to ship it, and that was not a great thing to start with because it was kind of big because it was for a toddler. But yeah, it was the black and white checkered flag design with his name on it, Dale Earnhardt, and it became collectible because he had died. And I didn't know anything about like what happens, when someone famous dies and all of a sudden
Right.
thing shows up on eBay and the prices go up and all of that. So living in Charlotte, we used to have some of the drivers come in the bank. Kyle Petty would come in all the time, and he was dating one of the bankers, and yeah, so it was like I was in the middle of all of that and didn't realize what a big deal it was.
Yeah. It's
Like, oh, this NASCAR people, they're driving me crazy. And then I realized, oh, this stuff is, some of it's collectible. And I always look for that now.
right. You learn. You learn.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing, I think the thing that got you interested in me back, it's been close to a year ago now. I had sold a store ledger from the
Yes.
1800s. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And that was one that was from actually 1876. It was probably about 18 inches tall and about 8 inches wide, and it was closed. And it was just filled with people's last names and what they had bought over the course of time. And then in the back of it, it actually had a little girl's diary. So I guess when they were done with the ledger for the year or whatever, little girl got to write in it as her diary. And this came from a home in central Pennsylvania. So I had it listed, and an archivist from central eastern Pennsylvania reached out to me. He was working for a university and he wanted to buy it. So we went back and forth, negotiated for a while. I had it listed at $120. He bought it for $100. It was in terrible condition. The spine,
I thought it was all ripped up and falling apart.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. The spine was practically not there. But he in conversation with him, he said, these things just go in the trash and they can't be replaced. What you've talked about, he says, they must be restored and saved. And that was kind of a neat one. That was a lot. I have another one similar. It's actually in better condition, but has a lot less writing in it. So I'm actually kind of saving that for me. I just like it. It's real pretty, right. Kind of that marble paper on the cover. So that was a fun one.
I think if you don't appreciate history, if you're not into it, you don't realize sometimes the condition does not matter.
Right.
It's a time capsule. It's a piece of history.
Exactly.
I don't know if you saw that photo album I sold a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
That was in a box lot. I didn't even know I was getting it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I thought the cover was cool. It was like, Chicks and Chums or something like that with little stick people, and all these photographs of must have been in the 50s and 60s, and the girls at the formals with the beautiful cocktail dresses and the hairstyles and the cars, and they're at the beach,
all the goodness
in the bathing suits at the time. And I had the best time going through that and putting that together, and it sold for $100 in like a day.
Isn't that amazing?
And I was like, somebody's going to love this because it was very well preserved. And the pictures had, it was like a scrapbook, and they had the writing underneath, at the beach, 1962 or whatever it was. So it was all, everything was labeled. So you would know like what formal it was, and somebody's graduation and this wedding. And I just thought the clothing was just fabulous. It was beautiful stuff, and somebody's really going to enjoy that. And I did put in my listing, how many photos. There was like 200 pictures in there, and it was really a time capsule.
Did it have a location where it was? Any idea where it came from?
I can look that up and put that in at the end. I don't recall.
It would just be interesting to know if it's sold to someone from that area. Or
Right.
was it just somebody who loved old things?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't gotten feedback, and I hate to ask any questions until I get feedback.
I know.
I'm not expecting anything negative, but
Right.
it seems like it might have been in the Chicago area because some of the swimsuit beach stuff was on a lake. It wasn't actually at the beach.
Right.
So somewhere up there near the Great Lakes, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe so.
I'll check on that and see. Yeah, but that was a fun one, and I'm kind of transitioning to getting more confident in things that aren't perfect.
That's a hard one.
The ephemera, and I bought some letters that are on the way to me today, and I don't even know what the content of the letters are because they just showed pictures of the envelopes and the
Uh-huh.
beautiful handwriting, and the stamp with the date, and but I know that if it's any love letters, tastefully written love letters that aren't smutty and gutter stuff, um or maybe those will sell too, I don't know.
Worth a try.
But yeah, or anything during a war,
Uh-huh.
somebody writing to their sweetheart, stuff like that, or just letters about daily life and how people lived and what they were doing, because they didn't pay for long distance phone calls the way
That's true.
now you can call anybody anytime you want and it doesn't cost anything. But letter writing is a lost art, and that's history.
I have a whole box full of letters from my grandfather to my grandmother from would be the late 1920s,
Wow.
that they've just been passed down. My mother gave them to me, and I'm like, I don't want them. I don't, but who knows? Maybe I should lot them together by year and sell them
Or by content,
by
like
content.
what the topic is. I don't know exactly how to batch them. I'll have to do some research.
I'll have to think on that. I just don't know. I want to read through all of them. There's a lot.
Oh, there's a lot. Well,
Yeah, there's probably several, probably 100 plus.
I guess you could make that, your morning coffee project for a month, read a couple letters in the morning and just work through them a little bit at a time, because that would be overwhelming just to sit down and read them all at once.
That would be.
Do it the piece by piece way.
Right. Yeah. Little here, little there. Along that line, I have had some luck with old cards, just vintage cards.
Uh-huh.
My mom keeps giving me stuff now that she's moved to assisted living. She has had all the baby cards from when I was born a mere 64 years ago.
Oh gosh.
And they were beautiful. Anyway, I looked through them all. I saved 3 or 4, lotted up the rest of them, and sold them for $30. I listed all used. Somebody wanted them probably for who knows what for.
Yeah,
I thought they were just
collectors.
they were just going to sit in my drawer.
And it may be one specific thing they're looking for.
Right.
Maybe it's Valentine's cards and they want all Cupids, or
right.
You never know what somebody's into and what their what is highly desired. It varies by collector. So you can't really just say, oh, all beer can collectors want this thing.
Right.
It's all different depending on the individual.
Correct.
It's fun because they can find what they're looking for, and we can complete the cycle of keeping that thing out of the trash, out of the landfill.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. So
it was fun.
They were greeting cards. What?
They were greeting cards. Yes.
Just all different holidays and stuff.
No, these were all baby cards when I was born.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. These were all written to, here, dear Joan, congratulations on the baby and can't wait to visit, and
gosh,
real sweet.
Oh, that is sweet.
Here's a fail sale, because everybody gets on, talks about all the good sales. So when I was starting, relatively new, I went to an estate sale, and it was the second day, so everything was marked 50% off, and there was this leather motorcycle jacket, Ed Hardy. And it had, I don't remember what it had in the back, but it looked great. And I was like, oh, I'm going to make so much money in this. This is great. It was marked $100. the first day, and now it's down to 49.50 or whatever it was. I'll buy this. So I tucked it under my arm and bought it and a couple other things. And then I took it home and said, "Ooh, this smells smoky. This smells really smoky."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "All right." I hung it outside. It hung outside in an enclosed area all winter long. It never smelled any less smoky. And I listed it. I had listed it with all the measurements and everything else, disclosed that it smelled smoky. Lots of interest. But when they, then I'd write back, "Now you're aware, I've tried to get the smoke smell out." And then for whatever reason, they wouldn't buy it. Finally, after I guess it was 8 or 9 months, somebody reached out to me, "Is this still available?" I said, "Yes, it is. Just so you're not disappointed. It smells smoky." She says, "I don't care. That's fine." She bought it. It was a woman in Chicago. Point of the story is I paid for $49.50 for it and sold it for $60. So maybe I broke even.
Well, and that's going to happen, but at least you didn't just toss it.
Right.
You got your investment back and
Right.
move
Right.
on.
Yeah, but it was one of those things that it was a rookie mistake. I should have smelled it because the smoke just destroys for a
Yeah.
lot of people. Yeah.
Mhm.
I bought some things the other day at an estate sale that the place was so smoky, but it was more some baby clothes just to see if I can sell them. I'm going to lot some of them up, but between the OxyClean and the laundry, they've come nice and clean. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the key. You've got to disclose. If it's going to be smoky, say it's smoky.
My go-to phrase on vintage stuff is good vintage condition shows wear from age and use.
That's good. Yeah.
That just covers everything.
Yes, it does.
And then, if there's something obvious like 2-inch scratch on the right side, of course you want to say that, but I just
Right.
general, I throw a wide net,
That's smart.
to
Yeah.
cover anything. And, then if I'll take any return, I don't care, but, I don't think it's good for a, vintage, let's say photo album or paper stuff to go back and forth in the mail a bunch of times.
Right.
Because
Right.
it could just, disintegrate and fall apart. So, and I don't have returns on those types of items. And so that's getting me out of the clothing business a little by little, because it's just, I like to sell things that don't get returned. I have a bathing suit on the way back. It has some like ruching across the front to be slimming, and the lady just hated it. She says, "Oh, this is a horrible design, and it's very unflattering," and all this stuff. And I sold one exactly like it because I found these at Goodwill. I think it was a retail store dump because they were all with tags, and it's the same exact style. And that woman loved it. She, "Oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want." And so going back to the first lady, I'm thinking, well, honey, it may not be the bathing suit. I don't know. I didn't say that, but I don't know what's, your shape is. This may just be ring on you. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But I just thought that was funny. Within one day, I got positive feedback on the exact same item. And then a return where the person was highly unsatisfied because it didn't look good on her.
Right.
That doesn't happen with, vintage World War II letters.
No, it doesn't. I sell very little clothing for that reason. Occasionally I'll find some kids stuff. I found a kid's Carhartt jacket that I sold. It sold quickly, easily. I was like, this is fine. If they don't like it, it's not a big deal. But women's clothing, I wouldn't touch. Just too much.
Yeah. Especially if it's a high dollar item.
Right.
That's kind of a buzzkill right there. But I don't get all that many returns. It's just the nature of selling clothing. And when I started, that's what was so plentiful in the thrift stores. And it was easy to find.
Right.
And the reseller clothing market is so different. It's so much more competitive. And I'd much rather sell something that is very unique and interesting to a collector than just the same old, rinse and repeat over and over again type stuff.
It's fun to sell something unique.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun. And the fun for me is in the search.
Yeah. The treasure hunt.
Yes, the treasure hunt is way up there. I went to, this is last summer, there was something I saw on Facebook Marketplace or Facebook about, oh, it was a sale that was going to run Saturday and Sunday. And I didn't see the listing or didn't see it until Monday. So I reached out to the lady. I said, I just saw this. Is there any way I can come take a look? She says, oh, please come. So it was about 10 minutes away. And I got out there and it was sort of a rundown house. I fenced around the house with a beware of dogs sign. I was like, so I kind of didn't get out of my car and opened the door. And she came to her, oh, the dog won't hurt you. So we went out back and she had a carport out back and everything was in boxes. And she said, I said, how'd your yard sale go? Well, it didn't go very well. It rained over the weekend. Well, I thought also because you have everything in boxes and it's dirty and it hasn't been cleaned. But anyway, I started poking through the boxes and I found a lot of glassware. I found a red, white, and blue striped pitcher with 4 glasses. Thought this would be great for 4th of July. Found a few other things and I'm ready to pay her. And I said, what do I owe you? She says, oh, how about $15? Okay. So I'm getting ready to walk away. And on the hood of an old beat up car were a couple more things. And one of them was a little porcelain tea bag holder with a little daisy face on it. I think they're from the 50s or 60s. It was made in Japan. You call it an anthropomorphic.
I was just going to say that.
Yes.
It had like a human face.
Yes. Smiling little daisy. And I said, do you want to sell that too? She says, yeah. I said, how about I give you $20 for the lot? She says, okay, that'll be great. I'm proud to say that I sold it for $210 a week later.
That little daisy thing?
That little daisy thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I had it listed at $245 and literally within a week, somebody offered me $210. I said, I think I'll take that.
Don't you just love it when that happens? It
was so
side bonus item.
Yes.
To be the best thing in the whole lot.
It really was. It was just so much fun. I just knew when I saw it, there was something about it. So don't be afraid to dig into the dirt. Don't be afraid to go to these sales that look like nothing.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You never know. I don't know if you saw on the $100 video, I think it was last week, somebody went to like an estate sale at a trailer and, wasn't expecting to find anything. And she found in there a Lalique glass, like a little trinket box.
Wow.
And it ended up selling for $1,000.
No way.
And you wouldn't have thought that trailer would have had anything valuable in it because of just your preconception of judging a book by its cover,
right?
But yeah, $1,000 for this little thing, and whoever would have thought? So I think that's what keeps us going. Is just,
I think so too.
It's just the unknown. It's kind of like gambling. I always say it's like gambling, but not really, because we're doing the research and we're going with our gut feeling, and we have experience. Oh, I've sold that kind of thing before, or I saw sell that kind of thing. So, it just, we have slow days, we have, dry spells, but it's exciting because you just never know when the next big sale is going to be. It could be like
right around the corner,
1 minute.
We hope. I'm waiting to hear later today.
So speaking of that, we've been going about an hour here. Are you going thrifting, treasure hunting today, or what's your plan?
I think today I'm going to try to get some of the things listed or ready to list that I got over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite little spot that I go to locally is closed on Monday. So I'll go there tomorrow. We have a Habitat store here in town that's getting ready to relocate. So I keep trying to pop in there to see what they're going to do with all their inventory. Mm-hmm. They're very closed-mouthed. So I don't know. So I will clean up some things, maybe list today. I don't think I'll get any shopping done today.
Well, that's good. A regrouping day is always good.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad we finally got our schedules to match up and
Yes.
do this, because this has been very enlightening.
It's been fun.
And it's been great to meet you finally. So
Yes.
keep up the great work, and we'll look for more of your sales on the group.
Sounds good. I'll be there.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, and I wanted to follow up with the junk drawer lot that was posted on my business page. So this is a shout out to Bill Hunt. The title of the lot, if you want to look it up on eBay sold listings, Grandpa's Junk Drawer Lot, Jewelry, Coins, Stones, Sports Cards, Toys, Pins, Estate Find. So it's just a jumble of all those different things in one listing. And when Bill posted that on the Facebook group, he said, I accumulated a lot of smalls from storage unit and bulk estate buys. Small items which on their own aren't worth much. So I've started lotting them up and running them on auction as junk drawer lots. Here's one that sold for $20.50. And just to clarify, I mention this because when I was studying the stats on my Facebook business page, this post got over 50,000 views. Now, that's not on eBay, that's on my Facebook business page where I post sales like this to help everybody learn about what sells. So, no, it was not 50,000 views on eBay, but it was 50,000 views on my Facebook business page, which was kind of shocking to me. But everybody's got junk drawers. Everybody's got things they can lot up together and sell like this. So that's the point I want to make here is give it a try. Maybe you'll only get $20, but you'll be rehoming some things and downsizing your inventory a little bit if you do this on a regular basis. Okay, next week my guest is Lisa in North Carolina. We've got two back-to-back North Carolinians. That's just the way it works out sometime. But she is kind of new to eBay and wanted to take some time to get herself organized before coming on the podcast. So I did ask her last year about this time to come on the podcast, and she just said she needed some time to get organized, and she's got a lot going on in her life. So we will talk with her next week. Thank you so much for spending the last hour with us, and have a profitable and productive day on eBay. Bye for now.